hate working on CV shafts. The grease goes everywhere. Just in a bed, Tim. In a bed. So, I was doing a little bit of cleaning up and throwing a bunch of scrap metal out, and I found this one and the opposing shaft. Now this is out of an SV21 Camry, and well, this is the other half. It comes out of the gearbox, and it's got CV shaft there, so I'm like, that looks interesting. So I pulled it apart, and this bucket just happened to be identical to the bucket on the end of a L series shaft that I had. So I put the L series shaft on the end. That worked. And I put an L series shaft on the other end, and that worked. And then I went and put it all into the Brumby, and it went in. Unfortunately, it's about this much too short. Which, well, that's better than being this much too long. But that really opened up the possibilities of finding another shaft out of something else. So the SV21s, they're around 1992, the shaft was from. About the same as the L series that I had. So I might have to go to the wreckers and see what other shafts I can find out of Japanese cars from that era. But let me show you what is going on with the actual Brumby. So the inside's working. The outside, well, this shaft had a broken end on it, so the retaining clip's gone, so that actually moves. Unfortunately, that's all the way out for that shaft. It won't go any further this way. And as you can see, it's not quite long enough here. So we're going to have to see if we can find some longer shafts. On the bright side though, there's enough spline engagement that I can actually start the engine and it turns. Well, I think that's pretty cool anyway. So what I'm going to do next is get the original Liberty shaft, which is way too long, chop it in half, install both halves, and then mark the shaft so that I can cut out the extra that I don't need, tack weld it together, and then once that's all done, I can take the centre shaft off to an engineer that has a big fancy machine and get him to print out a couple of new ones, probably out of chromoly. So this is the original drive shaft out of the car I got all the driveline out of. So I'm just going to cut him through here, put the two halves into the car, and then work out the length I need to cut out of it, cut that piece, tack weld it back together. Now I could go and do a full penetration weld on this, but the problem is that then you'll have a heat affected zone, and I don't have what I need to heat treat this whole shaft. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on this, and usually if you weld one of these it will just snap on either one side or the other of the weld. So we're just going to cut this, turn it into a template, and then get one machined up properly. And that's how you ruin a shaft. Alright, take these two back out to the Brumby. Right. Now we can take this, push that one all the way in, put a mark on it, pull it all the way out, put a mark on it, and then go halfway between the marks, and that should be the new length. That means that the inside joint is halfway through its range of travel, which means that the suspension can go up a bit more and compress it, and it can drop down and let it extend. But I'll do the marks at this height and with the suspension dropped all the way down, so we'll get a fairly good idea of where it needs to go. We'll pull this out and cut it down a bit shorter. So we've got our 4 marks there, so that the closer ones together are at full droop. So we want to go right in the middle of all of them, which means we're shortening it by about 60mm all up. So we'll put this in the vise, cut it, and be done with it. So I'll go pull the other half out and we'll tack weld these together. So now we've got some half shafts. Well, got to join them back together. Now to do this properly, you'd want to V it right out, weld them together, preferably with a TIG in a rotary clamp, and then keep welding around and around until you built it all the way up, and then get the shafts heat treated. Now, I can't really do much of that here at the moment, so we're just going to tack them together and then take these shafts as a template and then go get some new ones machined up. So the trick is piece of angle. You get the angle and put the 2 bits of shaft in it like that. They're going to be lined up nice and straight. So I'm going to clamp these 2 to the angle, weld around the top half, take the clamps off, roll it over, weld the other half, and then my template is done. You will never be able to drive on this shaft because, well, it's just got a little bit of weld holding it together on the outside, and well, that would break rather quickly, I think. So, MIG time. So there it is, all clamped up. Now, I've got the piece of angle and the long half of the shaft in the vise, and just using the vice grips to hold the short half. So, I'm also running the earth clamp directly onto the shaft. You really don't want to be running the earth through your vise because, well, there's lots of moving parts and the arc has to jump somewhere, so it's just not good for vices really. You should always just clamp onto the actual workpiece, unless you really don't like your vise and want to torture it a little. Now, I can't actually get a good angle to film this weld, so I'm just going to have to weld it. Alrighty. So there we have it, one template shaft. I'll take this out and put it into the brumby and see if it's right. Awesome. So now we'll pull the shaft back out, take the ends off it, and take the shaft to the machine shop. So my Toyota Subaru hybrid, well, he's 60mm short of what I need. The fact that this SV21 Camry shaft is so much shorter than an L series shaft, I'm guessing there's something out there that's the right size. So I got the overall length of this, which is the good shaft that fits the template. I can go to the wreckers and see if I can find a new shaft to suit. Now that would be the ultimate, is that if I could just pick up something from the wreckers. So this shaft, the ends of it are 27mm spline with 25 teeth, and this shaft is 25mm spline with 25 teeth. So seems to be fairly standard, so whatever shaft I can find that's the right length, I'll either put on the L series ends or the Liberty ends. So I've got a little bit of leeway. So what I've got to do now is pull this apart, take the center shaft out, and if I can't find anything at the wreckers, I'll go to the engineer and say, hey, can you make me a pair of these out of chromoly? And he'll be like, sure thing. And well, that's the expensive way of doing it. If I can get this sorted and the rear suspension sorted, then we start on body mods. But considering my machinist is moving workshops, so he's unavailable at the moment, so the spaces that I need for the rear end, well, yeah, we can't get that happening just yet. So we might actually do some custom bodywork next week. So anyway, I'm going to start pulling this apart. You're welcome to stay and watch. But that's it for this video. As always, customize everything.